I recently posted about the fact I'm 26 years old and I'm in $95,487.73 worth of debt, and I want to talk about it.
Wow. I'm assuming that some of that, if not most of that, is student loans just because of the amount. But let's watch.
Up until 24 hours ago, I did not know that was actually the total of all of my debt, credit cards and student loans. That number also does not include my auto loan, and if we are adding in my auto loan, the total number is $110,938.83. Since totaling up all of my debt, I don't think I've actually gotten one good breath of oxygen in the last 24 hours.
There are a lot of people who don't know what their entire debt profile look like. And this young lady has essentially put together her debt profile, and she knows that she has multiple credit cards as well as multiple student loans and an auto loan. It's one thing to know that in your mind, and it's another thing to put it down on paper with the amounts, with the interest rates, with the due dates. Creating a debt profile is probably one of the most beneficial, but one of the most revealing things that you can do as you prepare to pay off your debt.
I feel like there is a elephant sitting on my chest, and I don't think I can sit still because all I keep repeating is $95,487.73. All of this debt was racked up through decisions I made between the ages of 18 and 26. My first associate's degree I got from
It seems like she's taken some acknowledgement and accountability of this debt that she's accumulated is a result of the choices and actions that she made. I think she's maybe going to talk a little bit about going to college in that path. I think most of us go to college and acquire student loan debt with pure intentions, with good intentions of working hard, graduating, and like being able to work in our field. I think the not surprising reality is that some people don't actually work in the field that they go to school for. Some people don't even graduate, but yet they still have student loans. Yeah, the student loan infrastructure in America is an interesting concept.
a community college and I didn't have to pay for it because of the Pell Grant. But I decided to go to a university and got my bachelor's degree, which is where I really started to rack up the debt. Then in the last 2 years, I decided to finish a nursing degree at a community college in the last 2 years, but that's where I started to rack up even more debt. What really sucks is realizing that the majority of these student loans is not from tuition. It's actually from living expenses and living way above my means.
Now listen, because I can relate. Because I was once too a refund check receiver. Essentially, a refund check happens when you go to college and you take out essentially more money than what is actually needed to pay for the core expenses, tuition, room, board, meal plans, and things like that. And that excess money, you essentially use it to live your life a little bit. As college students, 18, 19, 20 years old, you don't have the wherewithal to think into your early 30s, into your late 30s, into your 40s. You are going to still be paying this debt off, right? If you don't kind of pull back and just do exactly what you need or get exactly what you need in terms of student loans. Even if you are in a space where you have the foresight to consider that, human behavior kicks in. I love that she was able to admit that, yes, it was for student loans, but it was also for other things.
My debt comprises of 2 credit cards, 5 federal student loans, and 5 private Sallie Mae loans.
She has 10 student loans altogether. That's a lot. 5 and 5, 5 federal, 5 private. I love the fact that she only has 2 credit cards. Yes, absolutely.
I can handle the federal student loans, but when I tell you Sallie Mae is bending me over and not in a way I like, it's actually insane.
Whoa now.
Sallie Mae is genuinely evil and they prey on young students. And the
Let's keep going.
reason why they take advantage of young students is because they know if you're reaching out to a private loan like that, you genuinely need it. Out of the 5 Sallie Mae loans I have, one of the interest rates that is the highest is 16.28.
I'm not even going to let her finish because all I heard was 1.6. 16% is a diabolical interest rate on anything. A student loan, a personal loan, a car loan, a credit card, IRS debt, medical debt, payday loan. Like 16% is wild. It's wild. How do I say this? What I would challenge you to do as you are thinking about your debt, whether you're in the space where you're paying it off, whether you're in the space where you're like just strategically managing it, instead of thinking about can I or can't I afford my minimum monthly payment, what I want you to then think about instead of that is, does my interest rate make sense? Am I willing to throw away 16% more of my money? Because that's a big chunk. When you think about like the 100% of money that you have, are you willing to carve 16% of that for interest? Considering all the other things that you have to pay for. If we reframe our thinking when it comes to debt in terms of our interest costs, whether that be month to month or annually, I think a lot of us will make different decisions when it comes to getting into debt.
8%. The lowest interest rate I have with Sallie Mae is 9.88%. Now, my federal student loans are between 4 and 6%, which I think is manageable. Although I had parents who would tell me what I should or shouldn't do, I never had anybody really sit me down and fully teach me financial literacy.
Yeah. Welcome to Gay Street. Like, the generations before me didn't even know to bring up the conversation about money. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. And it's unfortunate.
I never had anybody sit me down and really explain to me the scope of what I was doing and what it would look like in the future when I had to pay for it.
Imagine if there were financial literacy or someone that is able to take a more financial lens in those, what's the office called when you go into college? Is it like not the admissions, financial aid? That's the term I'm looking for. In the financial aid office, if someone was able to walk you through objectively what all your options are, and like that was a requirement, not necessarily something that some people had access to and some people didn't have access to. I think that would put a lot of young students in a better position to actually make an informed decision when it comes to their money, when it comes to getting into student loan debt today at 18. If you're not smart about it, you will still be paying this debt off in 30, 40, 45, 50 years. There's so much more that colleges could do to help students adequately and responsibly take on affording college.
In the moment, all of the student loans just felt like fake money because they just kept coming and I just kept spending.
Right, because at 18, you really have no concept of what $100,000 is, right? And more importantly, you have no concept of what the ramifications or what the weight of that is going to be 4 years, 10 years after graduation. And now you have a mortgage, you got 2 kids, you got aging parents, and now you also have $2,000 a month worth of student loans. That's the stuff they don't teach. But we've heard her story. She has $95,487.73 worth of debt. Overall, I like that she's taking accountability, acknowledging it. She's created her debt profile. I'm assuming the next step is going to be paying this debt off or paying it down. A lot of it is student loans. I would probably say a majority when it comes to just the amount, the number of different accounts that she has. But yeah, listen, massive debt is real in the field.
Today is one of those days.
It seems like it's hitting her. You can tell by the stare off into space. She's kind of not really there. She's there, but she's not really there. It hit her that she has 5 figures of debt. She says, what it feels like to be $76,795 in debt as a 26-year-old scared for her future. Oh, man. Okay. I didn't initially read that last part. Automatically, my heart goes out to her because it's the mental and emotional aspects when it comes to money, when it comes to debt, when it comes to our finances that I always think about.
Aligned. I don't make enough money.
Oh, okay. All right. There is a solution to every problem. Not making enough money. I wonder if she knows that to be actual factual based on the numbers. So for example, she's conducted a financial audit, an audit of her income expenses, her spending, her debt, and she knows that to be true based on the finances and not her feelings. That's my first question. If she's done that financial audit, then she'll know exactly how much she's in the hole that she needs to make up to actually be able to afford paying down this debt. If she has not done a financial audit, sweetie pie, honey bun, that is your first step. That is your first step. Because right now, and I don't blame her for it, but it's a lot of feelings going on. It's a whole lot of feelings. I can see it in her face. I can see it in her body language, hands on the hips. Like she is stressed, rightfully so. I think we have to transition from the feelings of all of this, right? And like process it and sit with it and all the things that you need to do. But then once that is finished, pivot to, okay, what's the solution? Either she'll have to get another job Or after conducting the financial audit, she'll realize that if I cut down on some things or eliminate some things, I actually have the financial cushion in my budget to pay, or in my income to pay for this. First and foremost, if she don't do nothing else, she should be conducting an audit of her finances across the board. Income, is it sufficient? Is it truly sufficient based on her finances and not her feelings? Expenses, essentials, non-essentials. Be as detailed as possible when it comes to the different categories based on her lifestyle and what those numbers look like on a weekly, monthly basis. Once she has that, then she can run the numbers and say, okay, is my income more than my expenses? Is it less than my expenses? Is it more than my essential expenses at least, so I can pay my bills? What are my total minimum monthly debt payments? Like, I could go on and on and on. I actually conduct financial audits for people and have services like that. So that's kind of why I'm talking in detail. Bottom line, she has to do a financial audit, because that will kickstart the implementation and the execution of figuring out how to get out of this situation.
For me to be in this much debt.
I think the other thing too that I really want to emphasize is, if you are in a space where you are fed up with being in a bunch of debt and you are absolutely positively ready to eliminate your debt or reduce it significantly, like, you'll know when you get there. Once you get to that point where you are truly ready, ain't nothing gonna stop you, ain't nothing gonna stand in your way. The one thing that I've seen that's the biggest contributor of success in the long term is continuous change behavior. Whatever you are doing to accumulate the debt, whether that be voluntarily or involuntarily, your behavior has to change, and it has to be a sustained change. Like someone who wants to lose weight or eat healthy, you can't just do it for a week and think that everything is going to be changed for the rest of your life. You have to think of this in that same way.
I'm 35 years old and in $169,292.74 of debt, and I still live at home with my parents.
Wow. Okay, so this is our first six figures, $169,292.74 of debt. I initially, when I saw that number, put it in the comments if you assumed that part of that was her mortgage. I mean, it's a little low for it to be a mortgage and other stuff, just considering the cost of these homes nowadays. But just seeing six figures, I was like, oh, that's has to be a mortgage. But no, because she lives at home. I am wondering immediately, what does that $169,000 represent? Credit, student, I'm assuming it's that student loans, because we all got student loans. I have student loans, and I've been out of college for a very long time. What is this made up of?
Might as well bump that up to $266,722.97 in debt if you add in how much I will pay in interest. I started aggressively.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you about interest? She's going to be paying almost an additional $100,000 in just interest. Start thinking of this debt that you have and the debt that you're acquiring, whether or not you're willing to pay the interest costs associated with it. As a matter of fact, I want you to look at your bank statement right now, one of your credit card statements, and you ain't necessarily got to put it in the comments, but look at the amount of interest in the statement towards like the middle or the bottom of the statement, the physical statement. It'll tell you how much you've paid in interest year to date, YTD, for 2025. Look at that number for just one of your credit cards. And then imagine if you were to total it up for all of your credit cards. That's literally money down the drain. Could you have used that money for something else? I'm pretty sure. We should maybe just reframe how we think about debt and the interest costs that we're going to have to bear as a result of taking on the debt, in addition to the interest rate itself.
Looking at my debt in January and truly didn't know the full financial picture until I got it all down on paper. It's included 2 private student loans, 10 federal student loans, 1 auto loan, 1 private loan, and 13 credit cards.
Okay, so she has a lot going on. I'm going to try to remember. 2 private, 10 federal. 10 federal loans is crazy. That's a lot. Hopefully she can consolidate some of them, but that's a lot. And I'm wondering what those interest rates are. Okay, keep it moving. 2 private student loans, 10 federal, 1 auto, 1 personal, and 13 credit cards. 13 credit cards is 12 too many. If you watch my other videos, you already know free is a minimalist when it comes to debt. I'm not the person who's going to tell you to not have debt, because I think, 1, that's a personal choice. And 2, That's just not reality, right? Like if you're living in America, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have some type of debt. The thing that I stress and what's most important is that you're not taking on debt while sabotaging your ability to save, sabotaging your ability to invest, sabotaging your ability to cash things out, meaning pay for things in cash and be more cash dependent. People get into a habit of taking on credit card debt specifically to live above your means. And we know living above your means is a recipe for disaster. Living above your means is the quickest way to mental and financial stress. Living above your means is the quickest way to bankruptcy. Living above your means is the quickest way to living paycheck to paycheck, right? If we know, right? If we know, okay, if you make this decision, this is what's going to happen, then we have to make a conscious effort to not make that decision, to not live above our means, because we already know the outcome. Some of us have experienced the outcome. Gage Street is really going to empower you to do the things that not everyone else is doing. It's going to challenge you to take the road less traveled, but the road less traveled that's going to lead you to the destination of a lifetime, right? When it comes to your finances and just being able to live on your own terms, truly, not for society, not for TikTok, not for the gram, not for the YouTube. Live life on your terms when it comes to your finances. That's what Gage Street is about. And knowing that it don't always look like it. From the outside, one of my videos that I recently posted, like a lot of people are in the business, and I'm not saying this is this young lady's experience, but what I am saying is a lot of people are in a space where they are spending performatively. Like you spending money, you going into debt to look like something to somebody else who don't know you exist or don't care if you do. Make that make sense. Here on Gage Street, I want you to live your best life, however you define that. But we're going to have balance, and we're going to make sure that all the boxes are checked when it comes to the key categories of financial wealth. Debt is minimal or strategically managed. You're living below your means because 15% is being saved. The other 15% is being invested. You're living on 70% of your income. Some really core, key, basic principles. You have guardrails around your spending. You have to. Newsflash, ain't none of us got a money tree unless your name is Gates, Bezos, Winfrey, Carter Knowles. Like, we have a limit on our income. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep. I really want people to be focused on keeping the money that you make, keeping it and redirecting it to things that you truly value, things that are going to be core memories, but where you're also not going into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debts to create those core memories, because that just don't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Did some drastic measures to reduce spending and start side hustling. I started posting my debt payoff journey here on TikTok in hopes of growing and getting into the creator fund.
She's saying she's already taken some steps, getting a side hustle. I want to know though, what that financial cushion looking like. Does she know? Has she conducted a financial audit?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Finance Friday with Wyatt. We're going to be talking about my credit card debt that reached $68,000 this month or this week. And then we'll talk about my other debt here. Let me pull up the weekly spreadsheet.
Okay, so this person created a debt profile. It looks like the top is credit cards and the bottom he has other debts such as car and insurance. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He has 13 credit cards, so very similar to one of the other individuals. A little bit too much. If I was him, let me just look at what he has here. Balance. I would also include as a column his total credit available, like what his limits are on these, especially on these credit cards. Then what his payment, I will put interest rates on here. There's some other things that I would add, but this is an example of a debt profile because it lists all of your debt in one and you know what the totals are. I would also make sure that every line is complete. I think sometimes when people sit down to get their money and their finances in order, we have a tendency to want to leave stuff out. Don't do that, because you want to have a complete picture of exactly what the damage is, essentially, and know in totality what you're working with and exactly how much debt you have. You don't want to leave out credit cards that like, oh, I haven't used in a while. If it still has a balance, you need to include it. If it's not closed out, if it's active card that you could take tomorrow and go to the store and use, you need to include it in your debt profile just so that you have an accounting of it.
So this is where we're currently at right now. 68 down here, $68,497.80. I did look, it went up a little bit from last week again, you guys. It went up about $400. Last week we were just under 68,000. So that's not good. The reason though, we got charged interest.
That interest, man, that interest is going, the interest, it be the interest though. It be the interest though. That's what really be kicking people tail, because that interest can make your progress seem minimal. Because when you do get into the groove of like paying down your debt, but then you have interest kicking in because you still have balances on credit cards, it's like, well, dang, did I even really make a dent in it? But I say that to say, yes, you've made a dent. Yes, you've paid down the principal, and just keep going.
It's on one of our Bank of Americas. And on the Sally Mae card, you guys, the balance just keeps growing because that's the card I'm using right now because I have no cash, because all my cash is going towards my payment.
He said something really critical there that I think you will only understand once you go through this process. I'm someone who has paid down debt a couple different times. And so what I know to be actual factual is he said all his cash is going towards his payments. So he's using one of his credit cards for like everyday stuff. That actually is not the best way to go about it. One of the ways to go about it, one of the strategies is, once you've decided that you are going to pay down your debt, all of your debt is frozen. All those credit cards are frozen, meaning not literally, but in your mind. This is how you have to frame this stuff up. You are no longer using credit cards. I don't care if you have to remove them from your digital wallets, remove them from your actual wallets, remove them from your purses. It doesn't matter. In one of my videos, I talked about how I paid down $15,000 of debt. I'll link it above. I got up to over $15,000. I actually explained how it got to that much in the video. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. I took that card and put it in the cabinet above my refrigerator. Why? Because I never went in that cabinet because I couldn't reach it. So it was literally, once I put it up there, climbed on the little step stool, it was out of sight, out of mind. And then I worked tirelessly for 8 months to pay that credit card off. What I would recommend to him, instead of using that credit card to float his expenses, he needs to carve out 20% of the cash that he's putting. So let's say, for example, just to keep the numbers simple, he has $100 to contribute to his debt every month, right? He's putting every month consistently to pay off his debt. Now, however long that takes him, it's however long it takes him, right? But he only has $100 for simple math. He should use $80, so 80% of that, to put towards his debt. And he should use the other 20% to live on instead of using that one credit card. Why do you say this, Free? I say this because I've been there and I've done that. And psychologically, it doesn't put him in a position to actually force himself to change his behavior, because he still has somewhat of an endless amount of money that he could use above his means, versus if he was only taking that $20 a month and living just off that 20, however he got to slice and dice it. And that's what I mean by, like, your behavior has to change, your habits have to change, because you don't have that excess credit. But that is a better strategy, because you are now training yourself to change your habits and change your behaviors. And you're not stacking up more debt while you're trying to pay off the other debt, right? Like, we got to make it make sense. He might have some other reason as to why he's deciding to use that credit card, but I actually would not do that if I was him. Change behavior is the greatest indicator of long-term success.
And so I have to charge, you know what I'm saying? And so that card is almost going to be at its limit, and I don't know when I'm going to do that, honestly. As you can see,
because psychologically what happens, or in terms of our behavior, now I'm not no psychologist, I just know how we are as humans. Once that card gets to its limit, he doesn't know what he's going to do. I know what he's going to do. He's going to find another card to float his expenses, as opposed to taking and living off of that 20%.
I did make some payments. Some of them are gone in here, but we still have payments due before the end of the month. And then, y'all, this Amex Platinum payment, $1,120, girl. I don't know how we're going to do it, but Actually, I called Amex this week and they have a financial hardship program. A lot of you told me about it. And so I did call. And it's what they're going to do. And I think I'm going to do the program. They're going to wrap up all my debt. So all 3 credit cards, the platinum, the preferred, and the cash, wrap it up in a bundle of debt, put it at 9.99% interest rate. And I'll make about a $231 payment monthly until it's paid off.
Okay, maybe he's going to say it, but immediately I want to know what he will pay in interest over the span of that payoff term, and what is the payoff term? Like, how long at 200 and however many dollars he just said is it going to take him to actually pay off those balances? It looks like he got about 8, 6, 14, 15, about $15,000 of Amex debt. So at 200 and some dollars a month plus the 9.99% interest, how long is it going to take him to pay that off? And how much would he have paid in interest? That's what I need him to ask Amex.
Which is about 60 months, but you could.
Okay, 5 years. Got it. That's actually not bad, because something else that people overlook is how long it's going to take you to pay off your credit cards. Like, and it tells you in your statement. So you done looked at the total interest. What I also want you to look at in that statement is, based on you paying the minimum monthly payment only, how long will it take you to pay off that credit card? It will tell you right there in the statement. And oftentimes it's 17 years, 13 years, 16 years, 12 years. It's depending upon the balance and the minimum monthly payment and the interest rate, it'd be reaching to the double digits easily. 60 months, 5 years is not necessarily bad. It's actually not bad at all.
And pay it off early. It allows you to leave your accounts open. You just can't use them while you're in the program.
Yes, and you shouldn't be using the other ones. Amex, they know what they talking about. They're not going to let you use it because they don't want you to continue running up the balance while you're trying to pay it off, which you need to apply that same strategy for the rest of them. Let me know what you think about the various individuals. Are you in a whole lot of debt? And if so, how do you plan on getting rid of it? I would love to compare notes and trade insights in the comments below. All right. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.